what is going on, YouTube? This is the Live Sports Talk, and I am Jeff here with the top 5 running backs going into the 2012-2013 season. I say this with the other 2 videos. This is not for fantasy. This is not for fantasy football. This is just for top running back, period. So I'm going to start off at number 5 with Matt Forte, the running back for the Chicago Bears. Last year, Forte was hurt and only had 12 games, but he still almost had 1,000 yards. He had 997, which is a pretty good mark. He averaged 4.2 yards per carry, which is 4.9 yards per carry, which is fantastic. He only had 1 fumble last year, which is what you want, compared to his 2009 a year where he had 5 fumbles. So I think he's just really he's really developing as a running back. I think that he's going to have he was injured, but he got a big contract at the end of the year, and I think he's going to come out and have a pretty good year this year, and make sure that his team is in a position to make the postseason and do some damage out there. So number 4 is I have LeSean McCoy from the Philadelphia Eagles. He was hurt a little bit last season. He played 15 games out of the 16, so that's not that bad. He had 1,300 yards rushing, and this is the big stat right here. He had 17 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns. So that's 20 total touchdowns. That's huge for him. And I know what you guys are thinking. Why is he all the way down number 4 if he has 20 total touchdowns? Well, I just don't think he's going to be able to put up those numbers once again. Because before last year, his 2 years prior, let's just go to 2010. 2010, he had 7 rushing touchdowns and 9 receiving. Not 9, He had 7 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving. That's 9 total touchdowns compared to 20 last year. I think this was a phenomenal year, obviously, for McCoy, but I don't see him doing it again because it's one of those things that he's not a one-year wonder by any means, but I just don't think he's capable of putting up those kind of numbers consistently because they were ridiculous. I believe he's going to have a great year, just not 20 touchdowns a year. So he is at number 4 for me. Number 3, I have Maurice Jones-Drew, assuming that he ends his holdout sometime and signs with the Jaguars. Maurice Jones-Drew, I think, is a fairly underrated running back because he's on a bad team with the Jaguars. He's honestly a workhorse. He's small, but he has power, and it's you don't believe it when you see it, but I've seen him go into a pile in the goal line and push his way through and make it in the end zone, and that is power for a guy that is just small like he is. He's not a big dude. I mean, he is muscular, but he's not a tall guy. He's not wide or anything. So last year he had 11 total touchdowns. The big number for him is 1,600 rushing yards last year. And the past 3 years, he's had 1,300 plus rushing yards, and I expect him to do that again. In 08 and 09, he had 12 and 15 rushing touchdowns. I think he can have a season where he can have around 10 rushing touchdowns this year. And I think that would be phenomenal for him, and obviously have somewhere in the 1,300 yard again and be a great running back. So number 2, I have Arian Foster. Although I don't really like Arian Foster as a person as that much, I think he's a little cocky. I think he's going to have another great year. In 2010, he had 16 rushing touchdowns with 1,600 yards. Last year he only played 13 games, but he had 10 rushing touchdowns and still had 1,200 yards. So, and he can find the end zone. That's the thing. The Texans have Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson. That's the passing threat right there. Maybe Dressen gets a couple touchdowns at the tight end spot, and Walter catches a couple and puts it in. But besides that, it's really Arian Foster. Right, he's the running back, obviously. But if you get down there towards the goal line, he's scoring. It's him. So I think he's gonna have another great year. I think he's as long as he can stay healthy, which I'm pretty sure he's all fine right now. So that should be good. I think he's gonna have a great year and be that number 2 guy. And number 1, I have Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens. Last year, Ray Rice had 12 rushing touchdowns, 1,300 yards. He had 3 receiving touchdowns and 700 yards receiving. That's 2,000 total yards if you're doing the math. Over 2,000. And he had 15 total touchdowns. He's a guy that can do everything, really. He's only 5'8", but he's a beast. I'm a Steelers fan, so I don't like the Ravens and all that stuff. But I'm behind Ray Rice, as in that he's a good running back. Right now he's the best running back. He got a contract during this offseason, which he wanted. He lit up the Steelers last year, which I hate to say, but he did. And it was just embarrassing to watch because he would just come. He catches balls out of the backfield. He breaks big runs. Like his longest run last year, he broke a 70-yard touch. Or I'm assuming it's a touchdown run. He had a 70-yard run, which was his longest of his career. He averages 4.6 yards per carry. That's really good. He averaged 9.3 yards per reception out of the backfield. He's just that all-around guy that can get into the end zone. And if it's not even that he gets in the end zone a lot, but it's also the stuff that he does that's not in the end zone. He runs the ball consistently. He gets about 300 attempts a season. That's a good amount. He's going out there and just giving it his all, and he's producing. So he's my number 1 guy for this season. So you can comment. That's it for me. You guys can comment, like, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. You can tweet me your top 5 at any position. Just let me know what position it is. Comment your top 5 running backs. And we're going to have a podcast on Spreaker.com at 4 o'clock on Tuesday where you guys can ask some questions and I will answer them. If you ask on Twitter at #AskLiveSportsTalk, that'd be very helpful for us. And so that's basically it. The website should be up hopefully later today, if not tomorrow. So I'll let you guys know about that later. And that is it for me. Peace.